You're listening to How I Met Your Monster, a podcast that explores the introductions to your favorite movie monsters. My name's Zach.
I'm Danny.
And I'm Casey.
And together we dive into the world of horror to find out how filmmakers have introduced us to our favorite monsters time and time again. This is How I Met Your Monster.
Boss, you opened it. We came.
I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left.
Explorers in further regions of experience. Demons to some, angels to others.
Call you Meatloaf! Surprise, Sydney.
Hello and welcome to How I Met Your Monster, the show where we discuss the introductions to your favorite movie monsters. I'm Zach.
I'm Danny.
And I'm Casey.
And you know what they say, misery loves company.
Misery loves company.
Misery loves
You were late,
company. And they say that two's company, three's a crowd.
Three's a crowd.
Four,
You're a whore.
You're a whore. Five.
What did you call me?
5 is for the beehive.
That's right. Where's Michael Rooker when you need him? Today we're talking Misery. And more specifically, we're talking Annie Wilkes, who is our monster for this week on How I Met Your Monster. And what do you guys think of this movie?
I love it.
I would just like to say that this is a personal favorite of mine, and not only because I am a little obsessed with Stephen King.
Okay.
And by
That's
obsessed,
true.
I mean I've read more than 3 of his books out of his 500 book catalog.
Man, I don't know how he writes them so fast.
I don't get it, but God bless him.
Yeah.
He is the king
Man.
of writing. So it makes sense.
Stephen King.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah. He was crowned with that name. And the second place is Prince. He wrote the second most amount of books because he's not a king. He's a prince. And if the king writes the most, then the king writes the second most.
Then the prince writes the second most.
Yeah.
What's after a prince? A jester.
I was gonna say Joker, and I was gonna say Joaquin
What
Phoenix.
are you? Yeah, I was going to say, are you playing cards? What are you talking about? No,
Talking
the
about
jester
the
does not
royal
come after
family.
the prince. The jester is the person that's being made fun of in court.
And
In the
who's
court.
Michael Douglas's dad? Why can't I think of his name?
Kirk Douglas?
Kirk Douglas. He's written more books than Stephen King because he starred in the movie Ace in the Hole. So he's the ace.
So he's the ace. Okay.
Where does Dean Koontz fit into this?
Dean Koontz.
My mom loves
Koontz
him.
write as many books as Stephen King, so it's not even a competition. But I do know Margot Robbie comes in. She's like in 5th place because she was in Mary, Queen of Scots.
Okay.
She's also Harley Quinn.
Oh, okay.
Well, Quinn as in like Quint, which is 5.
Yes.
And she's tied with Quint from Jaws. So they actually, they double up. They write their books together. So
Riveting stuff
Matt
here.
Matt Dillon comes in 6th because he wrote, or he's, are we writing in him or starring him or in him or what? What's the criteria here?
That's a great
Anything they had to do with.
Well, Matt Dillon comes in 6th because of the house that Jack built.
Oh, God.
Oh, because he's Jack.
He's Jack.
Okay.
I had something else.
Very
and now
cool.
I don't remember what it was.
Paul Rudd comes in 7th. Paul Rudd comes in 7th because he was the narrator / host of the 10.
And Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh, my fucking God, you guys.
He's right underneath Paul Rudd because he starred in the musical version of 8.5 called 9.
And then Brad Pitt comes in 7th.
For 7 years in Tibet.
I was going to say 7.
Also, the only reason these episodes are so long is because I talk too much nonsense. I'm going to rein that in a little.
Who said that, Casey?
Danny Salem. That was a text message from Danny Salem.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Have you guys watched anything this week besides Misery?
Just that anime still. That's it.
Okay.
I actually had a really fun little story. It is not horror related, but I got to see the new A24 movie, a little early screening of it at the Castro Theater here in San Francisco. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On.
Oh my gosh.
Jenny Slate was there, and she
Wow,
opened
no
it
way.
up. They did a Q&A. She did a whole talk. She opened it and closed the show, and it was a blast. I laughed. I cried. I had such a good time, not only from the movie, but because of Jenny's little stories and anecdotes throughout. It was a great time. Highly recommend it.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to see that.
Do you watch anything, Zach?
Yeah, I watched Gretel and Hansel.
Ah,
Have you seen it?
yes.
How was it?
I've seen it.
It was good. Actually, it was really good.
Yeah, it's very good.
It was cool, and it was really gorgeously shot, and
Yeah.
just a cool story.
Yeah.
Do they
I
flip
liked
the
it.
script a little bit on the original story?
Well, I don't really remember. Was
No.
Hansel usually like the older one in charge?
That's a good question.
No.
Because this one, Gretel, was like, she was older than Hansel and she kind of like took care of him. But I don't remember if that was different in the original.
To be honest, I asked that question and now I'm not even sure if it ends, like if it's one of those like morality tales or if it's like a happy ending. So
It's a happy ending.
it is. Okay. Oh, I did forget. This is not important, but I did forget that I also just watched last night Insidious 3, which is so much fun. I totally forgot how much fun it is. And that is all I will say about that because I'm trying to rein it in.
You can say what you want to say about
Tell
the
us
movie.
a little bit about
We're
Insidious
talking about
3.
movies. It's okay.
It's the second sequel in the Insidious franchise. Oh my God, what's her name? Lin Shaye really just gets to shine in that movie, which is a lot of fun because I don't know if you guys have seen the Insidious movies, but she's always kind
I
of
saw
like
part one.
Okay, so she's more of just like a supporting character, but she's a supporting character in the same way that like Tangina is a supporting character in Poltergeist, where it's like she comes in, three quarters of the way in, but she steals the show.
Right.
So of course you just kind of like.
Oh, I used to be so scared of Tangina.
Really?
She scared
That's
the
funny.
shit out of me.
Is it her voice?
I know what you mean. I think so. And she was like, she's just like small.
Yeah.
And
just spooky.
But she was like an old woman, but she's like she's not like a little person. She's just like small. And then she had that like childish voice.
Yeah.
And it always creeped me out. But is Insidious 3, is that like the keys? Something about the keys?
That's part 4. Part 3 is a prequel, and it's actually, so all of them are written by Lee Winnell. This is the first one that he also directed. So James Wan. It's so funny. So Jimmy and I were kind of commenting on this fact that James Wan does not like to direct trilogies. He did, that's kind of cheap because he only did the first Saw. But then he only did the first 2 Insidious. He only did the first 2 Conjuring movies. It's like he does 2, that's enough. Pass the torch. I'm going to step back as executive producer and hand the reins over to someone else, which I just thought was a fun little fact.
He's making a movie called Megan about artificial intelligence.
Oh,
is that with the doll?
Scary.
I did see that picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Is
going
he
to do one. He's
directing
going to do a
that?
sequel. And that's it.
I'm not sure. I just know that his name was on it.
Yeah. Is he going to do another Aquaman? Yeah.
That one I think they may have wrapped, but I'm not sure. They were supposed to do a spinoff because have you seen Aquaman?
Unfortunately.
Well, you'll know then. In Aquaman, there are these creatures that Aquaman fights. They're called the Trench, and you watch it and you're like, okay, you can see that someone has some horror roots coming into this because they're these like creepy creatures of the sea. And they were going to do a spinoff, and it was just going to be it was more of like a horror take on a DC movie.
That would have been so much cooler.
It would have been fun, but it got canned. So
watched Aquaman one night because I fell asleep on the couch and I woke up and it was like 10 minutes into the movie and I was too tired to get the remote.
I didn't mind it. Of the DC movies, I don't mind Aquaman, actually. I had fun with it from what I remember. I also I love James Wan and I love Patrick Wilson.
Well, have you seen Joker? I don't think you have.
No.
Because that's the best DC movie ever made.
Is it? Have you seen Shazam? Yeah.
I couldn't watch it.
I love
I got like
Shazam.
20 minutes into it and I turned it off.
Oh, I was thinking like the Shaq one.
Kazam.
Oh,
Kazam.
With the K.
Joker's the best DC movie ever. And I was like, have you seen Kazam?
No, but speaking of horror directors doing DC movies, that's from David S. Sandberg, who did the Lights Out short and feature and Annabelle 2. Yeah, something about
you turned me onto him, like he's got all those YouTube videos.
Oh,
and that's
such great videos on there.
He's very informative, and I love that he just like shares the process and all the cool behind the scenes stuff of how he works. And
totally, like super
stuff,
raw, super vulnerable. Just like this is it. This is how difficult it can be, but also kind of like how doable it all is. And
and like those shorts
secrets
that he makes on YouTube, and they look so good, and then he like breaks them down afterwards, and he's like, he goes through step by step, and he's like, we just used like this light bulb for this and this for this, and then you're
like,
so cool.
what was your rental house? He's like, IKEA. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. We'll have to I'll put some links to those videos in the show notes, because we haven't talked about our show notes in a while, so
no. Put in the show notes.
But speaking of trilogies real quick, and it's a fitting time to talk about this, I think, because it was just announced today that the Batman sequel got greenlit with Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson and all those people returning. I want there to be just a Batman movie. Mm-hmm. I don't want everything to like turn into a trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did that with Ben Affleck, but it wasn't good enough, so they didn't make any more.
Yeah, that was like an accidental, inadvertently non-sequel.
They're like always setting up something for the next one.
Yeah,
and
of
like,
course.
I just want it to be like, here is an installment of Batman. This is it. Like, I'm not going to go.
I'm sorry, but they don't care what you want. They want to make money.
I understand this.
Well, to your point though, Zach, it's like, because they, like the whole model with like, especially Spider-Man, because those movies come out so frequently, it's like you may as well do that because you're going to reboot it anyways in like 2 years. So make a standalone movie and then just reboot it instead of a sequel. You're still going to, get an audience.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess that goes back to your point, Casey, about making money. Like it's not like you said, like they're just going to keep making them.
Yeah.
And so why does like one director have to take over for like 3 movies at a time?
Yeah. I think we're due for our next Fantastic Four movie too.
Oh, it's coming.
I thought there was one.
It was greenlit
coming out.
Well, yeah, they made one, but to keep the rights, they have to make a new one every like 6 or 7 years or whatever.
Well, now they're going to be officially part of the MCU.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they did the official go ahead, thumbs up.
The last one was done by who did it?
Josh Trank.
Yeah. So it ended up like not being. He doesn't even want to be associated with that Fantastic Four movie because apparently they destroyed it after he made it.
That was like I read that about Ty West and Cabin Fever 2.
Oh, really?
He made Cabin Fever 2 and then like they just butchered it, and so he like made them take his name off of it.
Wow.
Yeah. Well,
that's what I want to do with a lot of my older articles from previous jobs over the years. Please take my name off of this.
Does it make you pretty miserable?
Makes me pretty miserable, and it was filled with the title of this movie, Misery.
Oh my goodness.
Well, guys, we just did it. What a natural segue.
That's right. Casey didn't even plan it. It just kind of happened.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't
where did that come from?
mean to do that.
Well, since we're here, do you guys think it's time to meet our monster?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
As Annie Wilkes probably said once in her life.
Get on with the cock-a-doodie show.
I think she's one of my favorite monsters. Because, like, I don't know. I guess humans scare me more than things I know that aren't real.
Sure.
Even more scary, apart from just being like a human character, is the fact that she was actually based on a real person.
Oh,
Was she? Do tell.
Supposedly, she's based on Janine Jones, who was a nurse, who literally, just like Annie Wilkes, spoiler alert, but guys, watch the movie if you're going to listen to the episode, but you don't have to. We love that you're listening. She killed up to around 50 kids in the span of 2 years. She was working as a nurse.
Man.
But yeah.
Well, that's fucked up.
yeah. What year did that happen?
I don't know. But also, one quick thing. So Annie Wilkes was based on a real person, but do you know why Stephen King wrote the book in the first place and wanted to write about Annie Wilkes?
No, I do not.
Which I thought was kind of fascinating. In an article with Rolling Stone, he said, and I quote, "Misery is a book about cocaine. Annie Wilkes is cocaine. She was my number one fan."
Man.
But yeah, I thought that was fascinating and terrifying. The fact that your head goes there from like, for a story from like a real life battle.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Was it Cujo that he doesn't remember writing?
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
Oh, I'm actually reading Cujo right now. That's so fitting.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's your fourth Stephen King one, huh?
Yeah, that's my point.
job.
It's number 4. Cody's parents are so sweet. They've been getting me these for my birthdays and for Christmas. They get me a Stephen King book from this collection. So these beautiful like red leather bound Stephen King books with like gold script, and they're so pretty. So I have 4 right now. I have Christine, Misery, Carrie, and Cujo.
Have you read Misery?
Never read Misery. I've only read The Shining, Carrie, Salem's Lot, one book of short stories. I'm reading Cujo. I feel like there was one more. Oh, and then I read his memoir on writing, but
Okay.
I think that's it.
Nice.
Nice.
Love Steve.
I read The Stand one time. That took me like 2 months.
Oh my God. Oh, and
to read
it.
The Stand.
I read it.
That was good.
The Stand. That one is intimidating to me. Someday I want to try it out, but is it do you feel like it's a quick read?
Oh, well, it took me 2 months, but
Well, that just depends on how fast.
But is it
you
like
read.
slog
it
along?
wasn't like, no. It was like, I was always like, oh man, I couldn't wait to pick it back up.
That's good.
Right now I'm reading You've Got Red on You, which is how Shaun of the Dead was brought to life.
Me too.
So are you
Zach,
reading that too?
We're like the same person.
Nice.
Yeah. I saw it at the bookstore. Yes.
Did you get it? Like, it's a nice fucking book.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the pages are all thick and they've got that red, like on the outside and
exterior. Yeah.
And it's got like the built-in bookmark. I love books that have built-in bookmark.
It's so fancy.
It's kind of cool. But today we're talking Annie Wilkes, and we've learned a little bit already about the real life Annie Wilkes character named, what was her name again?
Janine Jones.
Janine Jones.
Janine Jones.
She operated between 1960 and 1972.
Okay. Well, now let's meet Annie Wilkes. So Annie Wilkes, born and raised in California. She graduated valedictorian from Harry S. Truman High School in Bakersfield, California in 1968. She went to the University of California at Los Angeles nursing program, where she graduated magna cum laude. And then she accepted a job in the elderly care unit at the MacArthur Community Hospital in Manchester, New Hampshire. So she went from California all the way to New Hampshire.
Then to Colorado.
So you're telling me she likes to see the sights and she's a goddamn sweetheart for trying to help
Does
people.
this movie not take place in Colorado?
I don't think they say where this movie takes place, do they?
I think it takes place in Colorado.
It's Colorado.
Is
it like Silver Springs or something like that? I specifically Googled it because I asked Cody if he was familiar with it.
Yeah, they said
okay.
And The Shining is also takes place in Colorado.
But here's the thing. Have you guys watched the series Castle Rock?
No.
I watched the first season.
So season 2 is all about Annie Wilkes.
Played by Lizzie Kaplan.
Yes. And in it, and I don't know how many creative liberties they took, which I'm sure they took many. But she travels around a lot. So I wonder if she did travel across the country and maybe then ended up in, because I'm guessing like if she, got in trouble, got arrested, all that stuff went down. Maybe she like took off to Colorado to be like, I'm out. Like, I'm going to just like live isolated.
Yeah.
Yeah. When she was 11, her father, Carl Wilkes, fell down the stairs, supposedly at his house and died. And he was found by Annie when she was 11.
Oh.
During her employment at all these different hospitals, a nursing student was found dead after falling down the stairs.
Yeah. In the movie, that woman falls down the stairs. And then on the next page, it said that she received some sort of like promotion at work. Do you think those things had to do
for
with
not
each
falling
other?
down the stairs?
No, like she killed the woman who was going to get it.
Yeah, I mean that could very well be possible. But I also don't think that she killed people just to get ahead. But just based on like the number of babies that she killed.
Yeah.
Well, sure, but if you can kill a bunch of babies for no reason, you can certainly kill somebody to get their position at work.
Oh, no, I understand. Like, I'm not disagreeing with her potentially pushing this woman down the stairs so that she could take her position.
When in Rome.
I just don't think that was her like sole motive in all the times that she killed people because
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder what, because now that you mention that, because I hadn't read the book, but in the Castle Rock show, they show the whole backstory with her dad falling down the stairs.
Oh.
So I can see the connection of like why she might want to like recreate that for whatever reason. But the kid killing, I don't get it. I wonder if is it something, I don't know, maybe it's like she's killing innocence or something because she lost her innocence at such a young age. I don't know.
Maybe. But
Well,
she like really young babies too, like 2 days old, 6 hours old.
Yeah.
Well, those are probably the easiest ones. Those are like the easiest ones to get away with.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah. But after all these babies started turning up dead, she was brought in for questioning, and they started calling her the Dragon Lady. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm interested to read the book and see why she's called the Dragon Lady. But it's funny to me because all these people were falling downstairs in Annie's life, and Kathy Bates a few years later would go on to play Dolores Claiborne in Dolores Claiborne. And the whole thing is focused around the lady that she takes care of falling down the stairs and dying. And there's a whole investigation about, like, have you guys seen Dolores Claiborne?
I've never seen it.
No.
I've been wanting to read it first, but I know like, it's one of those movies that's been around so long that you kind of just know most of the story, but.
Right. But I just thought that was funny. Like Kathy Bates and like Annie Wilkes
Stephen
and
King.
all this. And Stephen
Weird.
King.
Like,
yeah.
It almost feels like an inside joke at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's like, I felt obligated to take the role. It felt wrong giving that specific niche quality to any other actor.
But I paused the movie when he was looking at that scrapbook on each article. I paused to read the articles.
Oh, smart.
And they just repeat after sometimes
That's
two
funny.
or sometimes 3 paragraphs. It's just the same thing again, just
That's
so you
funny.
can fill it up. And I was like,
Nobody's going to stop this and look at it.
right.
Nobody's
Well, it's
gonna
also
do
kind of
that.
smart too, because like then wherever you look, like you're getting the information.
Right.
Because you can't read it all in the time that he
Right.
flips the page. So
Oh, that's smart.
they give you like a few options to read it. Plus they're filling up space at the same time.
That's a good idea.
So that's pretty cool. But, a lot about Annie Wilkes we're going to learn throughout the course of this movie. So should we get into it?
Let's freaking do it.
Let's do it. We open up on a few items that are going to come into play later in the movie. A typewriter, cigarette, and a glass of champagne. Or I guess it might be is it an empty glass when it opens? When the movie opens, I think it's an empty glass.
We see the bottle, but I don't remember now. No, because I don't think he's drunk it yet because he hasn't lit the cigarette yet either. So he's about to finish and then.
And he's drinking what is later to be known as Dom Perignon.
Don Perignon.
Dom Perignon.
The best champagne. The best champagne.
Yeah.
All those hard G's.
And one of my favorite openings in movie history, as soon as he's done with the book, he goes outside, he grabs a snowball with his bare hands because he's James Caan and he's just a man. And
James can and he can.
He can and he does. And it just makes my hands cold every time he grabs that snowball and throws it. But then we get this awesome cut to him driving down the mountain road in the snow. We get the song Shotgun by Junior Walker and the All-Stars, which is just so fitting. It's so cool. And then bam, the Misery title comes on in that perfect typewriter font.
Yep. It's bright
so
red.
Good. But I have to say, it's his own fault that he crashed. He was driving so fast.
He's like, la da da. He's like Anna Faris in Scary Movie 2, and she's just driving off.
And listening to Vitamin C.
As we go.
The graduation
Will you
song.
shut the fuck up and let me sing?
Oh my gosh.
Dude. Oh, I love those movies.
It's a great movie.
Okay.
Maybe the greatest sequel of all time.
Scary Movie 2 probably is. It probably is. It is so funny. My favorite part is when the hand guy is fucking with the turkey and he says, I don't know what that is, but I'm going to lick it anyway.
Oh, Chris Elliott. Did you guys watch Schitt's Creek?
I've watched some of it. I liked it a lot, but I
watched the first season.
Cody's
Cody's obsessed,
Chris Elliott's good on that show.
He's always plays such skeevy characters. He always makes me feel so uncomfortable.
You remember There's Something About Mary? And he's got all the pimples, and he's got a white head on his eye. Oh God!
Oh, he's the friend who gets you find out gets hives whenever he's around Mary. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh,
did you guys ever watch the Tenacious D show on HBO?
Mm-mm.
I don't think I ever watched the show. I've seen the movie.
Well, he's
but
their
not
number
the
one
show.
fan.
Oh, that's
He's so
fitting.
funny.
That's fitting
So
for this
funny.
episode.
Oh, very fitting.
So funny. Okay.
And right after Paul Sheldon, I don't know if we've mentioned his name yet, Paul Sheldon.
Paul Sheldon.
Right after Paul crashes, we cut to a flashback of him in his literary agent's office, and they're talking about his new book and Misery Chastain. That's the first time we find out that his character in this series of books that he writes is called Misery.
Mm-hmm.
And cool fucking name for a character.
I know. Also just odd in general.
Yeah.
You're committing to just, I don't know, a non-name for someone to lead, not only to lead a book series, but a book series that's about kind of trashy romance novels.
Yes.
Right.
So I wonder what that, I don't know. I wonder if Stephen King based that off of something.
Yeah. Because Paul Sheldon, he says in the office there that he never wanted it to be a series of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For him, I think it was just a one-off book. And then.
That's like you with Batman.
Yes. I just want one Misery book.
Batman movie.
Have you guys ever seen that video of the customer going into it's like a Barnes and Noble or something, and she's asking for Paul Sheldon books? And
that sounds so
she's
familiar.
Freaking out.
That was a video that went around.
Yeah. And
yes, I do. I'm also having deja vu, but yes, I remember that.
That video is wild. And I can't remember now if the lady was for real or if she was just fucking with
It
everybody.
had to have been a bit. It had.
I
to
mean,
have been a
it
bit.
did not have to be a bit. There are people that exist that
It was a bit.
are not smart.
It was a bit much. It was either a bit or it was a bit much.
And then we're cutting back to Paul in his car, and some mysterious person is saving him.
Hold that. Before he gets saved, he goes like this.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like the worst fucking pass out scene I've ever seen. Not at all.
How do we let the audience know
Yeah.
that he
That he's
recognizes her but isn't conscious?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like his
Can you
eyes
do
are
like
open.
Yeah.
To me,
But-
it looks like his eyes are always like fluttering, like he's like still semi-conscious.
But either way, that was silly.
But before we go any further, I have to state this, and I think Danny may agree with me. Casey, I don't know where you fall, probably in the same line, but this is almost like a perfect movie.
Yes, it is.
100%.
This
I
is
agree.
I was actually going to comment on how that was even a perfect opening and a perfect place to do a flashback.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
oh, it's like frustrating how good it is.
Just
So
wanna punch
whatever criticisms we say about this movie, as with all movies, they're all in good fun
Yeah.
because this
Unless
might,
it's the town that dreaded sundown.
unless it's the town that put its sun down.
Yeah, I mean, any critique that comes out of my mouth is just like probably just like based out of like my own insecurity and a desperate need to get people to laugh.
Yeah,
at
no,
me.
I do love this movie, but that part I
'Cause
was
I
like,
love it.
that was just a little corny for me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's literally the only negative thing I have to say about this movie.
Oh, okay. I'm going to keep you to that.
All right, let's do it.
We should also mention the fact that this is from Rob Reiner, whose previous Stephen King adaptation was
Stand By
Zach.
Me.
What's the title?
Stand By Me.
That's right.
Which there's a connection somewhere because I'm assuming
They're all
that
connected.
Annie Wilkes bought that Royal typewriter, that somehow in the shifting of things being sold and bought and moved around, at one point that was Gordy's typewriter.
Oh, love that.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. He was just passing through and he sold it at a pawn shop because he wanted to get a God knows what.
Fudgesicle.
Does Stand By Me
I believe
take
it,
place in
yeah.
Colorado?
No, it takes place in
No,
Oregon.
oddly enough, it's supposed to be in Maine,
Yeah.
in Portland, Maine, and then they decided. Rob Reiner was like, "I want to make it in Portland, Oregon."
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, okay, that is weird.
So it could get from Oregon to Colorado.
yeah, absolutely.
It could.
yeah, totes. I have a question for you both. Now, when Rob Reiner adapted Stephen King's novella The Body, and then they obviously retitled it to Stand By Me, if he had done the same thing to Misery and decided to name it after a popular song, does not have to be a song from the 50s, what song do you think he would have named it after?
Oh my God.
That would have like tied in
You should have
with
asked
the
me
movie?
this earlier. I need time to prepare.
I know, it
I'm
just
not
popped in my
quick
head
on
and
my
I was
feet.
like, ooh.
Ooh.
Oh, I'm not either, but let's take some time.
All right, let's
I
take
mean,
some
it
time.
could've- let's really not rein it
When
in
a-
on this
when a
one.
man loves a
Take
woman.
a lot of
He does tell her that he loves her.
Can you imagine? I mean, if it was made if they did a remake, they could have called it Misery Business, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But that's Paramore.
Paramore.
Misery Business.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's that one.
My Girl.
Why do fools fall in love?
Yeah. Why do
My
fools fall in
Girl.
love?
That's so good. Yeah, because that Misery. Did Misery come out before the My Girl movie?
Yeah.
Misery was 1990. Are we right? Are we
Yeah.
Are we right?
Is our hive mind correct on this one? My Girl movie was. Oh my God! It's telling me when My Girl 2 came out.
I don't
My Girl
need to
1
know.
was 1991. Misery came out in 1990. Yes. Okay. So they would have. So guys, if Rob Reiner had gone this route and followed that trajectory of changing his titles, this movie could have been named My Girl, which means the movie My Girl would not have been named My Girl, which would have changed everyone's whole perception on this movie. So in that case, what would My Girl have been named because of this butterfly effect of just tragic title changing chaos?
My Girl
B
would have
movie.
been called. I was gonna say, don't forget your EpiPen.
Don't forget your EpiPen.
They just go really
Yeah,
low.
they're just going for it.
Oh,
And so actually, my first CD that I got for my birthday when I was 9 years old, I got my first CD player, and I got 3 CDs for my birthday. I got Shaq Diesel.
The fuck is that?
It's Shaquille O'Neal, Shaq Diesel. You don't know Shaquille O'Neal?
I know
Obviously.
who Shaquille O'Neal is, but I didn't know he had a rap career.
Oh yeah.
Are we calling it a career?
Did you have the O.J. Simpson album as well?
No.
No? Okay.
No. I got the Forrest Gump score. And
It's a great score.
Oh, yes, it is. Now I absolutely love it. But when I was 9 years old, I was pissed because I wanted the Forrest Gump soundtrack, and my mom got me the score.
To everything, turn.
But now, in my older years, I am so glad she got me that because it is amazing. But she also got me Green Day's Dookie.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude.
That's so
And
funny.
I memorized,
What a mix.
I learned every word of that fucking album.
Hell
and there is
yeah.
a song called Pulling Teeth, which
Yes.
is basically just like the Misery setup. And I have the lyrics pulled up here. This is just the first verse of Pulling Teeth by Green Day. I'm all busted up, broken bones and nasty cuts. Accidents will happen, but this time I can't get up. She comes to check on me, making sure I'm on my knees. After all, she's the one who put me in this state.
What's the name of the song?
Pulling Teeth.
Oh my god. Our next step, we should do a mini episode on like an investigative like journey into Green Day's relationship with Stephen King novels.
Yes.
There's a story there. This is how the great investigations of our time begin, from these moments.
Yeah. Yeah.
Casey, I trust you to do the research because you're good at this.
Yes.
Zach and I will merely joke about whatever you discover.
Thank you. That's
Okay,
great.
so Annie pulls Paul from the car.
Yeah, and you can tell
Mm-hmm.
she's a farm bitch. Okay, 'cause
She just like throws him over his shoulder.
She throws him up to her car, like up the hill.
She
Yeah,
is
because
strong.
not only is he over her shoulders, she's also walking in like
a
couple feet
like
of
a foot of
snow.
snow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But the first time we see Annie is just awesome because it's a POV from Paul, and he's looking up, and the first thing we hear is, "I'm your number one fan." And then you kind of just know it's all downhill from here. But she's out of focus when you first see her, and then it gets sharper as he comes to, and she's just like, it's that POV shot, and she's just like right over him. Ugh.
Yep.
Oh man, his legs.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
They are
That was-
so gross.
That's some
So
bruised
nasty.
up hobbit feet business
Yeah.
that just
Well, they were
like
missing all the
made me
hair,
nauseous. Yeah, hairless hobbit feet.
They're like 3
Yeah.
times the size of his regular leg.
Oh,
They're
Yeah.
all purple and bloated.
Yeah. Good shit.
it's like I kind of want to like. They look like soft and pillowy. Like I would tote snap on
Yeah.
one, but
For sure. It'd make a great pillow. Yeah.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Except he'd be screaming and that would just be annoying. So
I'm like, Paul, I can't sleep. Shut up, Annie.
knock him
Needle
out.
him.
Come on.
Put that thing in him. Give him those orange pills.
You're using Paul's legs as a pillow, and then he's screaming, so you're hitting him with an actual pillow, telling him to shut up.
Who's a guy got to imprison and get some sleep around here?
Yeah.
Like, shut up, Paul.
So now that Paul is missing, his literary agent, played by Lauren Bacall, is worried. So she calls the sheriff in Silver Creek. And this is where we meet Buster, who is just the sweetest man ever.
Yeah.
I
I love
know.
him and his wife.
Yes.
I made a note that they deserve their own little like Murder She Wrote sitcom
Oh, yeah.
My
series kind of
gosh.
thing.
Yeah.
You are
So
so
cute.
right.
Yes.
That
For
would
sure.
be amazing.
He's like, you can't talk to me like you're my wife when you're my deputy.
When you're in
Yeah,
this
we're in the
car, and she's
car,
like,
you're my deputy. Yeah.
she's like, well, this deputy wants to be back in the sheets with the sheriff.
Yeah.
I just want to give him a hug.
Well, you can't because he's dead.
He's dead, and she's
Oh.
probably just like, suffering through severe depression and grief.
Mm-hmm. Man, every time, spoiler alert, since I just said it, every time he gets killed at the end, I never get over it. It's so sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just want to like yell at him and tell him to like turn around.
Maybe one of the saddest deaths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And you don't even have
Stop
time
doing
to
your
like,
job. Get out of there.
you don't even have time to like mourn his death. It's just like
Yeah.
he's shot,
No.
he's out of the picture, and then he falls down, you never see him again.
well,
Yeah.
I was gonna say we'll get there, but I'll just go with it.
Just
It's
go
sad.
with it.
It's sad because he went in there because he was concerned for her. He went back in
He
there.
was. Oh, that's
He
so
said,
true.
"Oh, are
He's
you
like,
okay?
Annie,
Hey,
you
Mrs.
okay?
Wilkes, Miss Wilkes, are you okay? Are you okay?" And he opens the door.
Mhm. Yeah.
So-
Although I will say he did not die in vain, because although I do think Paul would have tried to fight back, I think watching the intensity of that, like him like being shot
Yeah.
to death, kind of like lit the fire in his ass to be like, okay, well, it's now or
Gotta
nothing.
figure
Yeah.
something out.
Yeah.
I'm in pain. This sucks, but like, I'm gonna fucking kill her. Again, hashtag spoiler alert.
She's creepy right off the bat.
Yeah.
Like day 2, she's telling him how she used to sit outside his cabin and like look up at the light and just like think about what he's doing.
The weirdest part about this, though, is that a lot of people are actually like this with celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're just people,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like Stephen King is just sort of shedding light on a norm within
Yeah.
like celebrity
Yeah.
culture,
Which is
Right.
so,
which is really
it's
disturbing.
just so wrong. Like, everything I've been thinking about it a lot since like the Will Smith thing, which obviously what he did was wrong, but he's a human, like we don't
Yeah.
like, nobody expects celebrities to act that way because they're celebrities. So they're supposed to be perfect all the time, but
Totally.
they're not. People put them on a pedestal because they're celebrities, but they're just people.
Well, and that's just right in that same scene. She picks up his bag and she says, I know this is like was so weird. She says, I noticed in your bag a new Paul Sheldon novel.
Right.
And she's talking to Paul Sheldon, but she referred to it as a new Paul Sheldon novel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, just like what you were saying, she doesn't see him. She knows the Paul Sheldon that's in her brain.
Right.
And like, she's just,
But she falls in love with both, remember?
This is
Yeah,
like,
she falls in love with both.
it is like creepy fandom culture.
Yeah.
I'm a big Doctor Who fan, but a few years ago I was like in it. I was doing like the cosplay and everything, and I miss it. I would still do it. God, I love that.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. Zach actually shot some wonderful photos for us. We'll put them in the show notes.
I got to find them.
No, but I just remember, and this isn't, a slight against anyone in particular, because I don't even think I 100% did not personally meet or do I know anyone who was like this. But when you sort of open yourself up to that sort of intense fandom culture, you see that, I guess, it's more on the forefront of that kind of behavior that people can have toward, a fictional show or a real celebrity. And they do what Annie does. And that, like you just said, where there is this removal of like reality to such an extent that it is like, it's their thing. Like this is just their little thing in their little bubble that they love and worship. And there is a line that some, I feel like, do cross where they sort of, it is very unhealthy.
Yeah. I mean, even people waiting to meet people, like that's like approaching them, and when they're trying to go out in public, like that's not okay.
Right.
Totally.
Like, sure, you're like just one person doing it, but that probably happens to them all day, every day. They can't do anything that they
Exactly.
want to do.
Exactly. And to not have that self-awareness.
Yeah.
Because like, yeah, sure. Like that's the thing with celebrities. Like you see someone all the time.
Yeah.
They're entertaining you. So of course, like to see them in real life, it's sort of surreal.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit,
Of course.
that's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to not know better
Yeah.
than to be like, oh, need to be respectful.
Yeah.
You know, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's just, it shows a lot about like who you are. And obviously Annie Wilkes doesn't have that.
And at the same time, I 100% agree with you guys. But just to look at the other side of it, it's like no one asked them to try to like dedicate their whole life to try to be a movie star.
Yeah.
And then,
I mean, you absolutely know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
You know,
You
But I
open
mean-
yourself up to that. Yeah.
I totally am in agreement with you guys, but I just, there is that other side where it's like, you
No,
know,
that's
that
fair,
you know
'cause
what comes
then-
with the territory.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Totally.
So Chris Evans, before he took the role for Captain America, he said it took him weeks to like actually think about it and really decide if he wanted to do something that was going to change his entire life like that.
Mm,
Because it does.
Yeah.
That's right.
And he got
God,
really
can you
depressed and
imagine?
stuff. Yeah.
man. Yeah. You
And-
think just like you think, oh, he got offered the role of Captain America. Like, what
Yeah,
are you doing? Why would you
amazing.
say no?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting to think like, man.
Especially as an actor who's like trying to make it in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like you want to get in, but then how far in do you want?
Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and Zach, to your point though, I agree. Like I don't want to like vilify like any person who's like crushing on a celebrity or something like that, because most people I think do have good intentions.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a crazy world out there.
Amen.
Crazy world out there, kids.
Crazy
What
world out
about
there, moving on.
Annie's vocabulary?
Well,
She
you don't
says-
swear.
She says oogie a lot.
Oogie.
Oogie. And
I'm sorry for
cock-a-doodie.
talking like this and making y'all oogie.
Like where does that even come from?
I don't know. Oogie.
She's like pulling from a well that is self-made.
Yeah.
You can't just throw that out there into the world.
Right.
It's a made-up vernacular. Yeah, she's just like so, just like kind of like building on the idea of like her just sort of being removed from reality. Even little things like when she does show him his legs, it's like she doesn't know better to be like, that's gonna trigger him. You know, not only is it upsetting to see because of the accident he's in, but like that's visually jarring and it doesn't even faze her. It's just like, look. And he's like, Jesus, like I can't look at that. And she's like, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
It's just there is this removal from reality
Well,
and like
she's-
awareness.
Very much like very childlike, including the no swearing in her vocabulary and stuff like that.
Oh,
but like when she
totally.
brings the pig in and stuff and she's like, oh, like dancing around and kissing at it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a, for whatever reason, I didn't go into it thinking of her behavior. I mean, yeah, it's childlike, but I wasn't thinking of it as her like sort of like going back into like a sort of childlike behavior.
Yeah.
But then when you told me about like her backstory,
Mhm.
losing her father,
Mm-hmm.
and then when you find out like she clearly targeted children.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there was something with her childhood that she was either repressing or felt like she couldn't satify. That makes so much sense. And
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
yeah,
she,
I don't know why I didn't directly make that connection.
she like emotionally stopped
Yeah.
growing at age 11 when she found
Yeah.
her dad, because she even like
Totally.
coming up here in a minute, she even goes into like temper tantrums.
Yes.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yep.
And it's like,
In the same
Yeah.
way you can't talk to a kid.
Right.
It's just like, what are you doing? Stop.
Mhm.
Relax.
Mm-hmm.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. God, fascinating. Oh, yeah. We should also point out the fact that Kathy Bates won the Oscar for this performance.
Dude.
Yeah.
She gives
Yeah.
me chills in
Deservedly
this
so.
movie.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's so wild,
Yeah.
the range that she has in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Which made
impressive.
me wonder, like, and I guess you could call this more of like a thriller than a horror movie.
Mhm.
But like the way that a lot of the awards, especially the Academy Awards, kind of, you know, they're known for like ignoring the horror genre.
Yeah.
And then you think like Kathy Bates won the Oscar for this. But like, for example, Toni Collette for Hereditary, who was
Ugh.
amazing,
Yeah.
doesn't even get recognized or
Yeah.
nominated.
Yeah.
And so it's like you wonder how they went from that to where we are now.
This is coming a year before, I want to say a year or two before Silence of the Lambs swept
Oh.
and Anthony Hopkins won.
Yeah.
Okay.
So so there's like a lot of ways you could look at it. Like that could have just been, you know, maybe they were kind of giving awards to too many sort of like, for lack of a better word, like kind of, well, that sounds mean because I like these movies, but like more hoity-toity, little uppity, more quote unquote respectable movies.
Well,
So maybe they felt like they needed to sort of like expose themselves to that. They were hungry for it. But then you look at like, you could also argue that there is that fine line between what they're willing to celebrate.
yeah.
You know, a movie like, you know, Javier Bardem in No Country for Old Men. I mean, even, well, that won Best Picture. So No Country for Old Men, Silence of the Lambs, Misery. They are, like you said, like thrillers.
Yeah.
Where Hereditary, but then Silence of the Lambs goes in some pretty wild places.
Yeah. I think Hereditary, though, okay, so it is, I think it's quote unquote elevated horror. I think that it's just probably a little bit past the point where like people probably didn't give it that much attention as far as awards go, because it was like you had to think about it. And there was way more to it than just a woman kidnapping her biggest fan. And, you know, I mean, obviously we're watching it and doing what we're doing. We're discovering that there's more to that. But in Hereditary, you actually have to think about all of it to understand even how it ends, you know?
Right.
Yep. It also, and to that point, Hereditary has like a really surreal sort of third act. And like even just like the last few minutes of it are just so bizarre. And I wonder if that made some kind of impression, like that last, like what it's leaving you with may like leave an impression in a potential voter's mouth.
Yeah.
Whereas Misery ends in a more traditional way.
Yeah.
Even Silence of the Lambs. No Country for Old Men sort of has like a non-traditional ending, but it's still kind of, you know, you're not ending with like someone like sawing their neck off and, you know, it's not that crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
So I wonder if Hereditary had sort of still kind of went all in on the crazy in that regard, but then kind of ended it a little more traditionally, if maybe it would have been regarded differently. But I mean, I'm just pulling that out of my ass and just thinking like what it is, like what is stopping them? Because Silence of the Lambs has someone who literally rips someone's face off and wears their skin on their face.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
how are you going to argue that's more respectable than Hereditary?
Yeah.
That's so like beyond subjectivity.
Yeah.
God damn it. Come on, Academy.
Come on.
All genres should be accepted and honored.
Yeah. But back to Misery. The first time
Misery.
we see Annie in her like agitated state is when she is feeding Paul soup, and she makes a comment about the swearing in his new novel. She says, people
there's
don't
no
talk
nobility.
like that. No nobility. And
Which
when
is pretty, come on. Come on. You killed a bunch of babies.
She's
You killed a bunch of babies.
Exactly. Let's not bury the lead, Annie.
But so Barry Sonnenfeld was the director of photography on this movie, which is awesome. And
So fun.
him and whoever's choice it was, his choice or Rob Reiner's choice, whatever. But the lens they use in that shot where she's kind of getting upset about how people don't talk that way. And it's this wide angle, and it makes the room kind of look, there's like a perspective thing going on with her in the room. And it just makes you feel kind of like uneasy at the same time where you're seeing like her true colors.
Yep.
She's like, you're just scratching the surface a little bit, but you're like, oh shit, there's something more going on here. And just the way they shot that was just, it's just,
like we're going to visually unsettle you while she's, like you said, like showing her true colors.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's fun.
And Buster, back to Buster, poor Buster. They're driving and he's looking for the car, and he comes so close to seeing the car, and it frustrates me like to no end. I just want to like.
Is that when he walks in and he like drops like almost up to his neck?
Yeah.
In
Snow. Yep.
And it's
the
like
car
10
is
feet over
right
this way.
there. Yep. Yeah.
Wait, is that when we see Annie when she's driving and it starts off?
Yeah.
We get a lot of like POVs, but it comes from her POV, and then we kind of like 180 around and we see that it's her. So it's this great, like he sees her. We're making connections with like the locals, like people are being tied together, and she's also in on it. She's like, okay, she's thinking like they're gonna start putting things together. I should get prepared.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And like I guess he was kind of calm getting back into the car, but like, how does she know that he didn't find the car?
Right.
Exactly.
You know what I
That's
mean?
a great point. Mm-hmm.
But now, okay, I started talking about camera lenses and now I'm in like filmmaking mode, but like there must have been, they had like a platform rig in front of Annie's car. And so they're shooting towards.
Oh, it's a beautiful shot.
Yeah.
We should absolutely dedicate some time to the
and then
technical
the camera
skills
turns
behind this.
Right. And so they still have to get like the whole shot of Annie, but also the shot of him. Yeah. Cause it's not through the windshield.
Cause you're shooting pretty wide there too. So then to like 180 like that.
Yeah.
And then still frame it as like basically like a medium close up on her.
It's the same way I feel about Raiders of the Lost Ark when it's the truck chase, right? Where the Ark is on the truck and Indy's riding the horse down and he jumps over and he's throwing the Nazis off and all this stuff. When he gets in the truck to drive it, there's no front of the truck. There's like a fake little steering wheel and then there's nothing in front of him. And that's where all the camera and stuff is. But you don't think about that. So like when you see like behind the scenes footage, it's just like this half of a little truck. And then there's like a whole team of people in front of it because you're right there. Like you're in the, like where the steering wheel would be. You're watching Indy drive this truck. It's just so cool.
See, I was so immersed. I didn't even think of that.
Yep.
Yeah. You're not supposed to. That's the point.
Yeah. Yeah. They did a good job.
Yeah.
Who did that? Spielberg?
No, I think it was that Yule Bowl.
Oh my God. House of the Dead. Good Lord.
So here we meet Misery the pig, also known as Mizzy later in the movie, which is kind of cute. I mean,
it is cute.
Its little snout like kind of like tips back when it snorts.
Yeah, she's adorable.
Yep.
I love pigs.
Yeah, and then you get that, like you
Annie.
said, Casey, like that childlike bit where, man, this is like creepy.
It is.
Kathy Bates is on in this movie. It is so impressive.
Yeah.
Is this is also the same scene or may come right after where I love it so much because she's kind of letting her guard down a little bit by accident. And she's telling Paul all this stuff to sort of like create conversation. And he's like, oh, so the roads are open? And she's like, actually only to town.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, I made a call. He's like, oh, the phones are working. And she's like,
not mine.
I used
While she's shaking his piss jug.
Oh, yeah.
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 That's a kink.
Yeah. She probably, I wondered, I was like, she probably doing something with it.
Ew.
She's not just putting it in the toilet.
You see, like later when you see like the shrine to him and her thing, there's like a little jar, like his pee.
It says Paul's pee.
Paul's pee, pee pee.
Just in case, little pee pee.
And this like Buster comes in, and she's like showing him the little collection, and he's like, "What's this?" She goes, "Oh, it's just a little pee pee.
Just a little pee pee.
A little pee pee.
Just a little pee pee."
He's like, is that literally what I'm thinking? Yep.
Yep, pee pee. Real pee pee. I mean pee pee. When I say pee pee, I mean pee pee. This is also right after that when she wakes him up in the middle of the night because she has read through his script and she has read through his novel and found out that he killed Misery.
Yep. And
this
I
would argue is like the monster reveal of the movie, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
She's like, this is her true colors. Guards are down. We're getting the true Annie Wilkes.
She told him that nobody knows that he's actually there. She hasn't called anybody. She hasn't done anything to let anybody know what's happened to him.
Mm-hmm. And she says like, if I die, you die.
Yeah. Yeah.
She says, you better hope nothing happens to me.
Yeah.
Because if I die, you die.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I wrote that quote, and then underneath I wrote, Paul's like, holy fucking shit. Sometimes I look at my notes and I'm like, what?
Yeah, because she picks up the bed, the foot of the bed, and starts slamming it down, and his legs are there. And
I told you, she's a farm bitch.
I love that description.
She can't have Misery dying. And so it's kind of like a revenge thing because the book that he wrote is not about Misery, but she makes him burn it in the grill. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like your next book can't be something else because Misery's not done. You need to bring her back. And so,
you know who this reminds me of?
Who?
All right, this is a spoiler alert for Scream 2022. So fast forward like 30 seconds.
Okay.
I'd go a minute.
But this is basically
Danny.
the motive for the killers in Scream 5, where it's like they did not like where the franchise was going. They wanted to take the reins and like just take control. Obviously, there's like some like differences in the approach, but basically the same idea of just like bitchy fans who just like can't handle the fact that their beloved thing that they love isn't doing exactly what they want it to do.
Yep. Toxic fandom. Man.
She makes him burn it.
She makes him burn it. But beforehand, when he's like trying to play with her and say, there's so many copies, like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And she knows, but she's just like, she walks around the bed, just like nonchalantly covering him in lighter fluid as she's just like talking.
So scary.
Man, that's where I wrote, this movie is so fucking good. It's
well, that's the thing. It's like, would you rather be, I mean, no one wants to be imprisoned, but would you rather be imprisoned by someone who is just constant in their like evil behavior, or you never know when they're going to slip out of it?
Yeah.
Cause it's like, it almost kind of reminds me of in M. Night Shyamalan's Split, when you like, you don't know which version of James McAvoy's character you're talking to.
oh, okay. Yeah.
So you're like, I think I can get through to this one, but when is he going to change?
I think
And that's almost scarier because it's like a time bomb, but you don't know where that ticker is on the clock.
with her like childlike state though, like she's obviously way more easily manipulated. Like he's able to convince her and sway
That's
her
true.
of like really outlandish, like ridiculous things that an adult wouldn't believe if they were putting somebody in that situation.
Right.
That's a good point, because we're seeing this from like, we're understanding that Annie obviously like knows so much about Paul, and like from the way he writes to like even just his little rituals and stuff. And Paul's kind of journey here is sort of kind of doing the same with Annie. Like, how do you think? Like, what's your process? How can I sort of beat you at your own game?
Yeah.
He's a great writer. He knows his characters.
Yep.
Annie's just another villain.
Yeah.
She sets him up with his writing desk. Speaking of that, and gives him, speaking of knowing his whole process, she sets him up with this writing desk and then gets him the smudgy paper.
Yeah.
What an idiot.
What the F, Annie?
What the
And she does like this
what
little
the
like,
cockadoodie?
what the cockadoodie, Annie? And she does like this sad little, mine costs the most. Why does it smudge?
Kind of felt bad for her in that moment.
A little bit. Yeah.
Okay, Pamela Voorhees, knock it off, guys.
She just loves Paul, and I love her for loving him.
Yes, and she
But it's
still
just like,
abducted him and kept him in the home and is drugging him every day. And yes, she bought him expensive
Is that
paper.
not technically what all mothers do with their kids? They quote unquote abduct them and take care of them.
Sure, Danny.
I think I felt bad for her in a different way, where it's kind of like, I feel bad for the people who are like,
oh, girl, you don't know a discount.
well, no, like they just need to have the most expensive stuff, no matter what it is. Like always have to have top of the line, always have to, you know, the new iPhone comes out, they're like first in line to grab it.
Well, yeah.
Totally.
I mean,
Well, stuff
look at
and-
Annie's outfits. Of course, she's that kind of person.
You got to be like Danny on this podcast, drinking his
Josh?
Sauvignon Blanc and only now telling you it's from Josh, which is like $12.99. Who drinks Josh wine?
I've drank it a few times.
Josh. Although I will say Josh wine is not bad.
No, it's not.
So if you want to sponsor us, Josh wine, I'd be happy to get drunk during every episode.
Oh man, yeah, we need a
for
fucking
some
alcohol
for some
sponsor.
dinero. Yeah. Of course we'd get alcohol to sponsor us. That's how we kick off. Great.
But yeah, so that's how I kind of felt bad, where she's like, but it's the most expensive. Why is it not the best? And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, then she
sometimes-
slams the box on his legs. So how does that make you feel? You still feel bad for Annie?
I feel sad for her. I don't feel bad. Well, I guess that's the same.
Yes, it is the same thing.
Oh, so speaking of like we were talking about, like you can't help but like go into like the filmmaker headspace, I was looking at just sort of like the blocking of the scene and the staging of the characters. And obviously, like, we've seen this movie a few times, or at least more than once. And so it's coming. And I remember just kind of watching it because I was like, he's kind of tucked into that chair, into that table. Like, how does she do that? And if you watch, he just kind of rolls out just like casually. And I'm like, you idiot, what are you doing? You're opening yourself up as a target.
Yeah, she's like being crazy, and he like makes himself more vulnerable.
He's like, hey, here I am.
I'll just come out in the open.
It's like drawing a target on. So, do you have any red paint?
But I remember thinking in this scene, like, why can't she just be reasonable? And then I remembered that she's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
she's a little unhinged.
A little
bit. Smidge.
A little unhinged. Yeah.
So the reason he sends her out for new paper is because he sees the bobby pin on the floor. And he's trying to get her out of the house. So she does. He finds the bobby pin. He surprises himself by unlocking the door. He's kind of just like doing it, hoping it's going to work. And then it does. And he's kind of surprised. And so now he's out through the house and he's discovering. And this movie does such a good job at just building suspense in these scenes. I mean, not just the ones where he's outside of the room, but in all of them. But especially, like, they take it to another level of suspense when he's outside of the room. And
well, if you listen, you can literally hear the ticking clock. Just like it's like, the bomb is gonna blow. Like, don't fuck it up.
Yeah, it's a good thing she drops that paper on the front steps, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you're like waiting, like, what? Something has to happen. There's no way she's gonna catch him. And then it's like, oh dang it. And
it's such a good detail because the penguin that he knocks over, and he doesn't see which way it was setting at first. And so he just catches it and puts it back. But he does know enough to like move the pills forward again, which is like, it's so frustrating because it's not that he's not smart enough to do it. Like, he knew to do that, but he just didn't see which way
Yeah, you're right. If you watch that scene, it happens so quickly that there's no way he could know. But you want to know what's annoying? This is just like a catch. This is a little script supervisor is not paying attention today. But a little fast forward when they're having dinner, the penguin is...
she already knew about it. Remember, because she mentioned it at the end, so she already knew about it. She just let it happen until it became a problem.
Okay. Okay, that's fair.
Because I thought the same. No, I thought the same thing when I saw them having dinner. I was like, wait, and then I realized at the end she says, "Yeah, my penguin that you knocked over. I know you've been out before. My penguin was fucked up."
That's
which I don't want to admit that I'm like Annie Wilkes, but I pay very close attention to detail, so I notice shit like that too.
I just assume, but if that was me, I'd be like, oh my God, my house is haunted.
Even if you had a man trapped in a room?
I'm like, oh no, Paul, I'm calling a priest. This house is haunted. We need to get it blessed. He's like, oh God, this is convenient.
Yeah, he makes it back to the room and he's
like, yeah, I think someone
sweaty.
Also opened the door earlier.
I think someone came in here.
Is he on the floor at this point? When is he on the floor?
He's on the floor in the kitchen.
Oh, that's right. Because he goes to the back door and we're at a low angle and it's a Dutch angle. And so you're already uneasy. And then
those Dutch angles.
Those Dutch angles, they'll get you every time. And then it's all in the editing, I think, in this, because it's with the music and the way they cut back and forth between her and him and her and him and her and him. Get your heart.
But also, let's not
racing.
undermine his performance there, because the second he realizes that she's here, James Caan transforms in that moment. The intensity at which he is crawling back to his is so visceral and intense. I'm like, because he looks so scared. He looks so genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like the kind of commitment you need to sell those scenes, and he nails it. It's so good.
Yes.
Yeah, you never, like, all the characters in this movie, you never believe for a second that they're not those people.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Especially Sheriff Buster.
Sheriff Buster. Speaking of Sheriff, we get the police chief, because now they found his car.
Yes.
They have found the car in the helicopter, and the police chief is that man. What's his name?
Who's in everything?
Who's in everything? He was in Needful Things. He was like,
He's in Needful Things. That's right. I was like, he was in a Stephen King thing.
What is that guy's name?
He has a very distinct voice.
All I can think about is Emmett Walsh, but I know that's not Emmett Walsh.
No. It's J.T. Walsh.
J.T. Walsh.
J.T.
Okay.
Walsh.
So I was right about a Walsh. I wonder if they're brothers.
There. That would make sense.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's the bad guy in Breakdown. Oof.
That movie. Let's talk about, when we talk about Misery and the suspense in this movie, that is just on point. Breakdown.
That was a defining movie for me in my formative years as a child.
Was it? Okay.
And I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
Okay. I watched it in probably my late 20s and for the first time. Okay. And I was literally on the edge of the couch.
It's so good.
Oh man, it's so intense. Cool. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Let's get back into this.
Let's get back into it.
Okay.
Yeah, they find Paul's car with J.T. Walsh.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Not to be confused with Emmett Walsh.
Not to be confused.
Nope. Unless you're just normally confused.
And here's where we are introduced to the famous cock-a-doodle car line, because I forget how it's set up, but she's talking about cliffhangers, which she calls them chapter plays.
Yes.
Yeah. She's correcting him. She's like, I know what they're called.
Yeah.
Well, she's talking about one that she went and saw. In the ending, the man flew off a cliff and died. But then they changed.
Because she's kind of calling him out for the bullshit. She's like, don't try to get that past me.
Yeah.
I know all about this.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they changed it the next time she went to see it. And she said, what did she say?
She's like,
that's not what happened.
Yeah, that's not what happened. He never got out of the cock-a-doodle car.
Yeah.
God, that just says so much about her, because she was young at the time when she saw that. So this headspace she's been in has just been consistent ever since she was younger, which is just that much scarier. You're like, you just have not developed. You have just been living in the state of arrested development for God, a few decades at this point.
Yeah. She also earlier we passed it. It was just a silly little part, but she blows him a kiss too. That was very childish.
Every time I see that scene, I think that he's going to grab it and then turn around and flip her off.
Yeah.
But it's later when he's out the window that he flips her off.
Oh, that's right.
That's my favorite part ever. Hi, pumpkin. Middle finger. She's like, oh, you kidder.
You're a kidder, yeah. Yeah, but he starts emptying his pills into the paper to keep it,
to build up enough to
try and knock her out.
Yep. I don't know, was he trying to knock her out or was he trying to kill her?
I mean, either would work.
Well,
yeah.
The tricky thing is at least for me, I feel like it wasn't totally firmly established what the pills do. Do they knock him out? Or because you would think that if they knocked him out, she would know if he wasn't taking it, because was she trying to take advantage of him? Well, not I don't mean that in a sexual way, but
right.
I mean,
but I guess that's maybe not important.
They were really strong painkillers, which would be an opiate, which would, if you took too much of it, it'd be like morphine.
Throw off your senses a little bit. Yeah, totally. That makes sense. So yeah, if nothing else, he was probably just planning on incapacitating her.
Yeah, to try and figure, and then, I'm sure he had formulated a plan.
But I would never, ever incapacitate someone who had such prowess in the kitchen with not only cooking meatloaf for this beautiful dinner, but adding the special secret ingredient that is Spam.
Yeah, Spam.
That's just rude.
And she serves Spam to
disgusting.
him on the plate with the scrambled eggs.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, there's 2 pieces of Spam there.
This is just someone who really knows what she's doing.
So I found this here on the internet. The drug is called Novril.
Yes.
In the
it's
movie.
real.
No, it's not real.
No.
It was made for Misery.
It's called Novril.
Gotcha.
It says Novril is a fictional drug. It is described in the book as a strong and addictive pain reliever, and its main ingredient is codeine.
Yeah.
It comes from a tablet. It comes in tablet form and has a bitter taste. In the film, Novril is encapsulated and tasteless, which makes it easier for Paul to slip into the wine. So a little bit different from the book, but not really.
Yeah.
You know, going back to just to kind of like jump back into Annie's behavior overall, it's just interesting now knowing kind of what Stephen King said about it being sort of her being kind of representing cocaine and how it is so many, like, it's just highs and lows. It's so unpredictable and it's manic, but then it's depressed and then it's this. And that is just, I don't know, that it's fascinating.
Yeah.
The fact that he was able to not only craft a character out of that, but like a genuinely complex character who you can almost I feel like even Paul does, especially in the end, almost in a way kind of empathize with her a little bit. Like you see that she's struggling in her own way, at least.
Well, she's definitely got mental issues.
Yeah, like, I mean, there's a moment where you're like, fuck, like if you just had someone looking after you, like, would you be this bad?
I think that it would be a lot easier to have sympathy for her if she hadn't killed a bunch of children and her husband and her
It's true.
colleague. You know what I mean?
That is a great point.
Yeah.
I was not thinking
just
about
like it
the
would probably
previous
be
murders.
it would probably be easier to feel bad for Mrs. Voorhees if she didn't kill all the camp counselors, but
That's fair. Hashtag pro Mrs. Voorhees. Hashtag moms for life.
parenting with Pam.
So Paul brings Misery back to life. He says it was a bee sting that she like slipped into a coma.
Yeah. It was
Wait a second. Is it time for the How I Met Your Monster conspiracy theory of the week?
Oh my God.
No, because she actually dies in My Girl.
He dies.
Hit it.
You're telling me that NASA is going to kill the President of the United States with an earthquake.
Not exactly the kind of thing a Secret Service agent can like just throw himself on top of.
The whole Vietnam War was fought over a bet. Howard Hughes lost to Aristotle Onassis.
This is our third issue this year. Conspiracy theory.
Macaulay Culkin's character is a descendant of Misery Chastain.
But he
That's
dies. Okay.
What are you talking about?
Does he die?
Yeah.
Or does he not die? Yeah. So, but her descendants don't actually die from the bee stings.
But My Girl is set in the 60s.
My Girl's set in the 60s. Misery Chastain lives in like the 1800s.
1700s.
Whatever.
Oh, wires crossed in my brain in such a way that I was like, wait, this was in 1990, but the real Annie Wilkes was in, you said in like the 70s, but I was like, wait, what?
Misery Chastain, who's like a fictional character in the 1700s or whatever. Macaulay Culkin, just Macaulay Culkin, is a descendant of her. Macaulay Culkin is fictional.
Doubling down on the conspiracy theory of the week. My Girl is about Veda, who wants to be a writer, and she, uses like the money that she steals from Jamie Lee Curtis's character to do the writing program, in that summer course. What if she wrote a story about Macaulay Culkin? Like, she doesn't even have a best friend. No one dies. She writes about him because she's obsessed with the Misery books, but because Misery dies in the end, because Paul Sheldon kills her, she ends up writing about fan fiction about a relative of Misery Chastain, who ends up being Macaulay Culkin's character, who dies of a bee sting.
Whoa.
You guys, why aren't we getting paid for this stuff?
You guys.
This is some pro bono bullshit.
Danny, does that have any holes in it?
Nope. Pretty solid. I was going to say it does have 2 holes, or no, 1 hole from the bee sting in the neck. Or actually several, because he gets
He has several bee stings.
Several, because he gets attacked profusely from the horde of bees that kill him.
Wonderful. So she finds out Misery is alive, and she dances around the room in like this weird thing, saying the house is going to be filled with romance. And then she says, I'm going to put on my Liberace records. So then they have dinner, and this is the first time that I noticed. Did you guys notice the table? The table, in order to get Paul in his wheelchair up to the table, Annie has raised the table, and it is setting on like phone books and like those tins that have like cookies around the outside of them that always have
I love those.
Sewing utensils or sewing things.
No, they come with butter cookies. Okay, that's what's supposed to be inside of them. But yes, old ladies have sewing needles.
Yeah, so that like the table is propped up on these things, and I just thought that was so funny. I'd never noticed it before.
Hey man, she picked that table up all by herself. You know why?
She's a farm bitch.
That's so funny.
She's a farm bitch. Right?
What if she was just holding it the whole time, just sweating and shaking? She's like,
but this is one of those scenes that every time it happens, just like, I mean, every time you watch this movie, it's like you're experiencing it for the first time, even though you know what's happening because it's so good. And she spills the wine and you're just like devastated.
Do you think that she does that on purpose?
I never know.
I think she does. I think she knows something's up. I think that she doesn't trust him in that moment. Mm-hmm. Personally. Yeah.
Yeah. I think about that every time.
That's such a good point.
You never know.
Yep.
I wish that the Misery books were more like detective stories or something. So she sort of like knows his tricks.
Oh yeah,
because
she
of
knows
like
how his mind works by the way he writes.
Yeah, like he would do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We're going through a writing montage now.
Yep.
And this is where we first see him start to lift the typewriter. And
it's also a Rocky montage.
It's very much a Rocky montage. And right after that's over is when it starts to rain and Annie comes in super depressed. And this is the first time we see like I guess it's like the real Annie who's not putting on a show. And she just like wants to like, I don't know, I guess she like wants to be somebody. She doesn't want to be just a normal everyday person.
When she says, "You'll never know the fear of losing someone like you if you're someone like me."
Mm-hmm.
God.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like moments like this that make me sad for her. Cause like clearly her mental health is just in such a bad place. But again, I'm removing the fact that she's a fucking murderer.
Yeah.
Right.
But like, I just want to like, it breaks my heart that there wasn't anyone there to just like help.
Yeah.
Like something was wrong and like she was just isolated and.
Yeah. I mean, that's happened a lot, especially, like years ago, they didn't treat mental health the same way they do now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and in the Castle Rock series the second season that focuses on Annie Wilkes, they humanize her so much, even though she does have like all those outbursts and like psychotic moments. You see so much more from her perspective that you kind of like get it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But also, again, I don't know. I didn't read the book, so I don't know if they just made all that shit up or if they took it directly from the book.
Right. Yeah. She also tells him that she loves him and that she put two bullets in her bullet. 2 bullets in her gun.
It's not working. He's like, oh, I'm going to get out of this easy. She's putting guns in a bullet.
She's never going to be able to kill me.
So she walks out in her depressed state. She walks out into the rain with her gun in her pajamas, and she gets in the car and drives somewhere. And Paul takes this opportunity to grab the biggest knife he can find. In these movies, knives are always like very loud. He's got like
clanging.
Have you ever tried to make a knife make that noise? It takes a lot of like doing.
I mean, I have Glamdrig, which is Gandalf's sword from the Lord of the Rings, and one of the things that I love about it is when you take it out of the sheath, it actually makes sound.
Oh, really? I do know that Paul finds her scrapbook, though.
Memory Lane.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
A lot of good stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
We get all the different newspaper clippings about people who have died and a lot of high school teachers. There was like a hockey coach. There was a former high school coach. There was a used car king.
Oh.
There was another high school instructor on a few of the ones where there's like the obituary of the person dying. She has posted in her scrapbook like a card that says Bon Voyage on like 3 of them.
Jesus.
It's kind of like, ugh.
Yeah, I did see that.
The first picture we see of Annie Wilkes, I guess not the first one because they show like a child picture and stuff like that, but it's like the big picture of Annie Wilkes we see in the thing. She is channeling her inner Rosie O'Donnell in that picture.
Yes. Yeah.
She looks just like Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It's so funny. But then Paul takes the knife back to his bed and he's got the knife in his little sheet sling. And every time he pulls it out, it makes that shing.
Right,
shing.
which doesn't
And
make
you're like,
any sense.
Right? I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
What if every time he did it, he didn't realize he was like cutting up the sheets, and then he like lifts his arm up and it's just shredded. He's like, damn it. It's like Freddy Krueger.
Annie comes in and she says, you either cut your nails or you stop that kind of dreaming.
Good one. Good one.
Nothing like a nightmare reference.
That's right. She gives him a shot. Annie gives him a shot.
Yes.
She no longer relies on the pills or whatever. She's upset. She knows shit's going down. She knows that he's been out.
Just going to the source.
Yep. She gets some kind of drug in a syringe and just jabs him.
Yeah. And I delight. It brings me so much delight.
This scene does?
Yeah, of course it does.
Oh my God.
This is amazing. And I think that this is another one of those scenes, like when we did Scanners and we talked about like the head exploding, and like even if you haven't seen that movie, you still probably have seen that
iconic
part. You know what that is.
About this scene, yeah.
Yes, and this scene is iconic. Like everybody that's into horror, if you haven't seen Misery, you fucking know about this part.
Yeah.
Because it is it's so disgusting.
Yeah, it's almost like, filmmakers would probably love to make a movie that has like a memorable scene and you're just like, oh yeah, people remember, they know the movie because of this scene. But when you like make a movie this good, where the whole thing is so amazing, but then you also have a scene that like stands out so much, that's like it's like a good accomplishment.
Amazing.
Good job, Rob. Good job, Rob.
Good job, Rob.
But yeah, when she comes in and she is like saying all the things like, I know you've been out, I know all this stuff, I found your key. You're just like, oh my God, like shit's about to go down. You're just like so scared for him.
Well, that's the thing, is his reactions are what makes it so scary. When he's like, whatever you're planning on doing, please don't. He just is so vulnerable. Like, please stop. Like, you just can't escape. What's funny, or not funny, but in The Shining, when Jack Torrance is running around with an axe, that was actually a change from the book where he runs around with
I think it's a croquet mallet.
Croquet mallet, thank you. Yes. And in this case, another Stephen King adaptation where she uses the sledgehammer, I guess. What is she using?
She uses a sledgehammer.
To hobble his feet. In the book, she uses an axe. And actually cuts off his foot, which I thought was interesting that they do like a turn. Yeah, then she cauterizes the wound with a torch.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a little, I actually almost feel like the hobbling is more disturbing.
Worse. Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it also is so, she like romanticizes it too with like this whole, I mean,
the story.
I say romanticize, I use that very loosely.
From
like her perspective,
yeah.
It's like, well, in the older time, ancient times, yada, da, da, da. And it's like, stop building it up like it's like this ritual that you appreciate or respect.
She wanted the house to be filled with romance. It's just the kind of gal she is.
Just the kind of
she's
gal
a tough
she is.
bitch.
She's a
but
farm
she
bitch.
also she's a farm bitch, but she loves romance.
She's a farm bitch.
And I think that it's funny too that when she first brings him back to the house, she like builds those splints and stuff to put around his feet to fix them, and then she just fucking destroys all of that.
Yeah,
any good that has done.
Yeah.
You know how when Misery is swept off her feet, I'm going to kind of sweep you off your feet, so to speak.
Yeah.
In a manner
And
of
I
speaking.
love that they show the first one because your eyes aren't even open for the second one. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're not even looking at the TV anymore anyway.
Well, I feel like you can't believe they're like, there's no way they're going to show, because like my imagination is going to, there's no way they're showing it. And they straight up just show it. And like
so
full
good.
practical effects.
And it's so
Mm-hmm.
quick,
There it
but you
is.
see enough. Like
Yep.
it's and it never gets easier. It never gets easier
And the
to
fact
watch
that his
this
feet
scene.
are already sore and like damaged
Yeah.
just makes it so much
Yeah.
worse. Guys, I've lost like a day to stubbing my toe. I can't even imagine what this would do to me.
I've lost. I'm sorry. I can't today. I stubbed my toe. I can't. I'm
I
sorry.
stubbed my toe a few weeks ago. I straight up fell on the floor and it hurt so bad. Like cartoon, like lose balance sideways, just like drop like a tree.
Oh, man.
So yeah, I would not survive the Annie Wilkes experiment.
Yeah. And
whatsoever.
of course I love how calm she is when she does it. Especially like we've seen every emotion from her, you know what I mean? So we know that she's capable of
Yeah, now's the time you decide to be cool as a cucumbber.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. She's capable of a great range
What
of
does
motion.
she say? Like,
God, I love you.
she's like, but she's before she goes to the next one, she's like, hold on, like it's almost over or something.
It's almost over.
And I was like,
Yeah, like it has to happen.
you know, it's kind of like him, like he's going through all this pain from the first one. And then she says, it's almost over. And he's like, what? Like you're going to do both? Oh my God. Like that's just, ugh. But thankfully, well, I guess not thankfully for him, but thankfully
And then
for
he
Paul,
dies.
Buster, and then he dies. Buster makes the connection. He finds the newspaper articles. He reads the Misery novels, and he finds
Which
that
is
quote.
adorable.
He's so cute.
Yeah.
He reads the books.
And he's way into it. And his wife is like, okay, it's a little strange, but okay.
Misery's being, what does he say? Misery's being taken to court or something.
Yeah. They're taking her to court.
When he goes to the shop to talk to like the general store owner, if this movie was ever remade, God forbid, don't fucking do that.
Don't touch
But
it.
if it was, the shopkeeper would be played by Packer from The Office. He's also he was in Krampus. He was
what's his name?
He's I can't stand him. Oh my God. He was in.
I love how he's just taking this bit role in a Misery remake.
He's in Anchorman.
Is he the one that has the side mouth?
What?
I think so. He's like bald
Is that
on
who
top.
you're talking about? Yeah.
And he's got the hair. Yeah.
David Koechner.
David Koechner. Yeah.
Yeah. The sheriff goes to see the shopkeeper, finds out like, oh, did Annie Wilkes buy any of these books? Well, of course she did. She's obsessed with the guy.
Mm-hmm. What else did she buy? Oh, just paper, the typing kind.
Yep.
A gun, some tape, poisonous gas.
She bought 2 guns and 1 bullet.
She has a very good explanation though, as far as why she did all that stuff.
Oh yeah, when
You know
Buster
what I
comes to the
mean?
house and she's like got her story down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Especially because I'm sure they all know she's a little bit cockadoodie, you know?
Kukurunskis.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they know she's been in all that trouble and that. She even said like the quote that how Buster makes the connection. It's that quote from the book where it's like,
yes,
man's not the highest judge or something like that. I will be judged by him, and it's all about God. And so he already knows she's a little bit crazy. And he comes and he scans the house. He turns down a cup of hot cocoa. Crazy.
Yeah, that was dumb.
Well,
you'd still be alive.
I mean, it's
Buster, if
probably poisoned, but
I was going to say he doesn't trust her.
It's cocoa.
Yeah.
I'd be like, hey, if this is how I'm going out, so be it.
Also, real quick, going back to them at dinner, I just thought of this. She already had known that he was out of the room, so she probably, of course, didn't trust him and thought that he had gotten into stuff. You know what I mean? So her knocking over the wine and stuff.
I don't think she knew yet that he was out of the room.
Yes, she did. Because the penguin was fixed. The penguin was fixed, and later she says, my penguin always faces due north. You know what I mean? So she already knew about it.
She knew
She was
about
just
it, but she had not confronted him about it yet.
Right.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. Anyway, back to this.
No, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's scanning, and he finds the shrine, the Paul Sheldon shrine.
Mm-hmm.
With the pee-pee.
The pee-pee.
With the little pee-pee. And,
with the little pee-pee.
And then he finds Paul, and it's the end for Buster. He gets got.
Yeah.
And then that's when we find out Annie is like, I've had it with this shit. They're going to come now and find he's going to be missing. Now they're going to come looking for him. We're ending this, Paul. We're ending our relationship.
It's a healthy decision.
And Paul's got that great idea. Hey, let me finish the book.
Yeah, we got to
knows
keep
what he's
Misery
gonna do.
alive. Mm-hmm.
So he starts to finish the book, and he's like, I need my 3 things. And she's like, I know.
Love this
you need
so
a match,
much.
a cigarette, and a bottle of Dom Perignon.
Dom Perignon.
He's like,
What if his ritual was like a grenade, a shotgun, and like a phone that only calls the police?
Convenient.
He's like, it's my 3 things that I need.
Convenient.
And she has like, when he says, she like brings it in, and she's like, do I have everything right? And he's like, almost right. And she like gets a little sad. And then he says, this time we need 2 glasses. And I swear she has like a little mini orgasm.
Yes,
right,
absolutely.
Right there. She's like, oh, Paul.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and Paul's like, yep, I got her now.
I got her.
He's tweeting about it. He's like, oh my God, LOL, I got her. Stay tuned.
And he's got this perfect little setup where he has stolen the lighter fluid from the basement, and he sets the whole book on fire. And he's got I love when he lights the match with his thumb. Mm-hmm. He just like, it's just like
badass.
so badass. Yeah. And then he just, and she goes to save the book, and he uses his Rocky strength, and he cracks her on the head.
So many callbacks.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yep.
With the typewriter. And I'm surprised she didn't like get more damaged by that.
She's a farm bitch.
She's
Zach.
a farm bitch, yeah.
Okay.
She's a hashtag farm bitch.
Farm bitch.
And she shoots him. Luckily, she's a bad shot.
Yeah.
You're a horrible shot.
Well, she had just been. She just had a typewriter smashed over her head. So
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
That happens to me every time.
probably a little dazed.
Every time I go hunting, a typewriter falls in my head. I'm like, fuck.
He's all or nothing at this point, and he's shoving the ashy
that's my
books
favorite.
in
Oh,
her
yeah.
face.
Yes.
He's like, eat it, you fucking bitch.
Eat it, bitch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or he's like, what does he say? He's like, eat it, you fucking like psycho or something. Oh,
Yeah,
it's so
he says
satisfying.
something very, yeah. But even she, like when she is now like fighting him, now she's her morals have gone out the window. Her cursing
Nobility.
morals have gone out the window.
Yeah.
Her nobility, and she's
She's
calling
like,
him
fuck
a
you,
cocksucker and all
cocksucking
this
bitch ass cunt ass hoe.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah. This is great.
he just like puts a hand to his chest. He's like,
Excuse me?
Excuse me.
What? Oh my God.
He pokes her in the eyes, and she's like bleeding from her eyes.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's good stuff.
I remember when I was a kid, my uncle told me that. He said, Danny, if someone ever kidnaps you, he said, put your fingers through their eyeballs and bite their ears off. That was his. And I was like, it's actually a good.
Bite their ears off. So I like to imagine that during this fight scene, the ghost of Buster floats into the room and says, sweep the leg, Polly.
What is that from?
Sweep. Well, it's sweep the leg, Johnny. It's from Karate Kid.
Oh my gosh. I
He says,
watched that
"Sweep
movie
the leg,
once.
Polly."
Yeah.
Wait, can we just keep adding scenes on? It's like Goblet of Fire is like, take my body back, Paul. Take my body back to my family. Also, this scene would be so much better if like right before the fight started, you just hear like in the background, Mortal Kombat. Just the music playing. Just smacking in the head. That's fatality. He just falls onto the typewriter. Because that would be Paul's fatality. So fitting.
Buster is there, like he's like one step away from Paul, and he goes like back, forward, Y, X. And like Paul picks up the typewriter and hits her, but like it doesn't work, so he has to be like
he low kicks
he's
her.
got to go a little bit farther away.
That takes her out. It's like.
And then he's like, "Oh, I must not have been close enough. I gotta get closer." And then he goes back, forward, YK. And then it's like, "Oh, the steel pig to the face." Fatality.
Flawless. Well, I guess it wouldn't be a flawless victory. He got his ass kicked all the whole movie.
Paul Sheldon wins. And that's it.
That's it.
Paul has survived a brutal, I don't know, I guess it was a couple months, maybe?
Yeah.
And then he's
we
back
did see
in New
all
York.
the snow melt, so yeah.
Yeah. He's back in New York 14 months later? 18 months later?
Oh, I missed that.
I think it's 18 months later. But anyways,
specific.
he's had time to heal, and he's got his crutches or a cane. I'm sorry, a cane. And he's speaking with his agent, and he sees Annie coming through with the dessert cart. And when he looks up, and then it's actually not her, but the girl says, "Are you Paul Sheldon?" And he says, "Yes." And she says, "I'm your number one fan."
Yeah.
And such a good way to end it.
Yeah, it
so
is.
good.
I also love that he kind of thanks Annie for helping him, because she did kind of make him think differently about his writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if like the biggest twist at the end of the movie was like in the credits? It would just say like, so stupid. It says starring Lauren Bacall as herself. She's not even his agent. It's just Lauren Bacall the whole movie worried about Paul Sheldon.
What?
I don't know why that makes me laugh.
Yeah, I don't know why that makes you laugh either.
Before she retired, she just wanted to play herself playing an agent in a Stephen King adaptation.
That was her one wish.
She's like, it's going to knock them off their feet. Like, okay. This is the episode. I say it every week, but this is the episode. I'm retiring. I'm done.
Well, now it's time to talk about our favorite reveal. And there's a couple, I guess you could say a couple little ones, but there's really just one main reveal. When she comes in at night and starts shaking his bed and she breaks the table over the wall and everything. But are we all in agreement? That's the reveal?
Yeah. Like that's when she finds out that Misery's dead and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, now it's time for a segment that I like to call The Real Monster.
Run, run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man.
You're a monster.
I'm not the monster here. You are. You and the rest of that fairy tale trash poisoning my perfect world. Now tell me, where are the others?
Eat me.
The real monster for me is whoever gave Annie Wilkes her medical license.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, come on, guys. That's like a process you have to go through. And we've seen her. She is not good at like maintaining her highs compared to her lows.
Yeah.
So whoever didn't see through that was clearly just sort of like, just didn't care enough about their job.
Yeah.
The University of California at Los Angeles nursing program.
You'd think they'd be like on their toes, but I guess not.
1990. Well, this was probably, long before that when she got her license. So
Yeah.
Yep.
1972 she graduated.
Yeah.
1972. Casey, what about you?
So my first one is global warming, because at one point Annie talks about, the winter's getting shorter every year.
She does.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
And it has something to do with the ozone layer, and she doesn't know if she believes them or not, but
yeah,
global
good
warming.
Call. Good call.
The second one is double negatives. When Annie is watching the dating show, there is a woman talking about how she went on a date with this man who showed up without no tie. And if he showed up without no tie, he showed up with a tie. So, yes, double negatives.
Ties.
Or maybe just the girl who doesn't know how to speak proper English. I don't know.
That's great.
Well, I one of my monsters is on the dating show as well. It's the man who showed up with no tie. Kevin.
The man that showed up without no tie.
Without no tie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin. He's just the real monster.
Okay. He just is.
I've got Paul's swollen legs.
Oh, yeah.
I've got
Pudding
the way,
legs.
the way Paul Sheldon writes his capital E's.
Oh, his handwriting is horrible.
It's
I didn't notice.
His E looked like two Z's next to on top of each other.
Yeah, he makes it's almost like a pointy B.
Yeah.
Because he does the loops, but they're like points, and it's just fucking weird.
Yeah,
but my number
terrible.
one real monster for misery is blankets tucked into the bottom of the bed while your legs are in them.
Why?
It's so tight and claustrophobic.
Yeah, especially when you've got pudding legs.
Yeah, he's got the pudding legs, and she's tucking the blankets, and she goes around the whole bed tucking in.
I want my pudding to breathe.
I'm sure that she does that on purpose.
Well, yeah, either she
Does
did
she
it on
think
purpose or not.
that's like prison? She's like, it's basically like prison bars. And you crave, that's a blanket. What if she thought that's how she was locking him in?
Yeah.
She's like, haha, I got you. He's like, okay. He just leaves that night. Like the first night he's there, he just gets into the car and just drives away.
But I tucked him in. All right. Do you guys have anything else to add about Stephen King's Misery?
Other than the fact that it's fucking awesome and I love it so much. No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We're all in agreement here.
Yep.
I love it.
As always, listeners, if you have any other information about Misery or you've read the book and you'd like to drop some information on us, feel free to send us a tweet at I Met Your Monster, or reach out on Facebook or Instagram at How I Met Your Monster, or even send us an old school email, Zach@howimetyourmonster.com. Snail mail, it's accepted, but it's
I'll post.
Not preferred. But where can our listeners find you guys on social media?
I'm on Instagram at WolfMotherCasey.
I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Danny Salem, SALEMME. That's 2 M's like the candy, melt in your butt, not in your hands.
Wonderful. And make sure to check out our website, howimetyourmonster.com, where you can listen to the show, sign up for our newsletter, and stay up to date with things. Even check out our merch store for some cool How I Met Your Monster gear. And we always appreciate ratings and reviews. If you've enjoyed the show, we encourage you to go to ratethispodcast.com/monster and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Podchaser. It's really easy, and it helps us grow our audience. So we would appreciate that.
Also helps with our confidence.
It does help with our confidence.
You know?
Yeah.
I'd love a confidence booster. If you just want to say something nice and, I don't know, just call it a day, we'll feel great.
That's right.
And get some more chipper episodes.
And make sure to join us next week, where Casey and I will be discussing Funny Games, starring Tim Roth, Michael Pitt, and Naomi Watts. It's a pretty disturbing one, so buckle up.
Strap in, bitch. We're getting wild.
Strap in like Paul on Annie's bed.
That's right.
Don't get hobbled, though.
No.
And as always, thank you all for listening. Now go meet some monsters.